We'll find out. If I get feedback, I'm going to have to hang up on you. I think he heard that. Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees, of the Village of Riverwoods. Will you please stand with me and say the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Ford,
Here.
Trustee Clayton,
Here.
Trustee Eastman,
Here.
Trustee Jamerson,
Here.
Trustee Rath,
Here.
Trustee Smith,
Here.
and Trustee Trevino.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First order of business is approval of the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests. In that event, the discussion will be the first item of business after the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move. Second.
Are any trustees have wish to have anything removed? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Sorry. Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Rath.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item of business is our Finance Director's report. Director Vasquez, please.
Thank you, Mayor Ford. I have a few items before we get to the quarterly reports. The Finance Department completed several year-end items in the recent weeks. Our 1099s were submitted and mailed out. Employees received copies of their W-2 for 2025. We also provided employees with information related to the impacts the One Beautiful Bill Act will have on overtime reporting and gave them a link to the IRS webpage that provides further details and examples. As we close 2025 and start planning work for the upcoming audit, I am considering asking Lauterbach and Amen to once again provide us with pre-audit prep work services again this year. I was very impressed that their work last year helped result in a clean management letter for the village. Presented tonight are the unaudited financials for the fourth quarter for 2025. Please keep in mind that we are still receiving and processing invoices for activity in 2025, so there will be some changes from what I present tonight and what we present when we have our final audit numbers later this year. We are also still catching up with reconciling activity from the last couple of months of the year, especially in the general fund, as we transition to having a new accounting manager. We have been working with Lauterbach and Amen on this activity, as well as working on transitioning the main account reconciliations over to our new manager as well. I'll start with the general fund and start with the revenues. You can see that we ended up with over 110% of budgeted revenue for the year. I do expect that number to go up slightly as we continue posting items as we wrap up our 25 activity. Of particular note, home rule taxes, municipal sales taxes, hotel tax, and gas utility taxes came in at 99% or higher than budgeted. As we complete more year-end reconciliations, I expect that state income tax will also cross that threshold. Municipal fuel tax came in at 87% of what was budgeted, which was about $8,000 below what we had anticipated. I will use the year-end actual data to help finalize projected revenues for the 2026 appropriations/budget ordinance that will be presented in March. Excise tax revenue continues to trend lower even after adjusting our 25 budget down from 2024. This is offset as we receive more tax revenue from sales and home rule taxes as a result of online sales tax being more accurately recorded to the villages where those online goods are purchased. Expenses in the general fund are overall near 88% of what was budgeted for the year and does not include budgeted transfers to the capital fund or TIF funds. This would be about $625,000 less than we budgeted for expenses, which is consistent with our conservative approach to budgeting for expenses. However, it should be noted that we are still receiving and processing invoices for 2025, as I said earlier. So that number will come down a little bit by the time we finalize numbers with the audit. Over in the motor fuel tax fund, revenues came in right now are showing 77% of projected revenues for 25, but we still have several months of revenue that we need to post as part of our reconciliation process. And I expect that by the time we get to the audit, we'll show that we're near 100% of our projection. Expenditures are at 0% for the year. We had a large budget for MFT expenditures in 2025 with the anticipated work for the Saunders Road STP project. Due to the delays in the project that Director Witt has kept us informed on, we won't see these expenses happen until 2026. In the water fund, revenues are at 105% of the annual budgeted amount. Last year, we were at about 110% of what we budgeted when we ended 2024. Expenditures are at 70% of the budget. A large reason why we are below budget on the expenses is from capital items. One large water main project that was over 60,000 is on tonight's invoice list, so that number will go up once we process the check associated with that invoice, now that it's been approved. Also, some reservoir work that was expected to happen in 25 will be delayed until 2026 due to issues with obtaining a permit from the state. In the sewer fund, revenues are at 129% of what we budgeted. At our finance workshop, we discussed how I would update the revenue budget so it was more in line with what we are actually receiving in 2026. Expenditures in the sewer fund are low at only 20% of what was budgeted. Not all of the budgeted maintenance work included in the budget happened last year. Grinder pump maintenance expenses will end up probably only being about half of what we budgeted. However, we have seen that expense line item have a great deal of variance. We also did not have any capital expenditures in sewer, even with a budget of $385,000. Part of that budget was in case of emergency repairs. And also at recent meetings, the board has approved the repair of multiple lift stations, which will all happen in 2026. There are also outstanding invoices, such as the activity for grinder pumps that is on the invoice report tonight. And so those were not yet processed when I compiled the data for the reports. And that will impact the final expense numbers. And again, when we bring the final audited numbers, we'll see those numbers bear out the actual activity for the year. In the capital funds, the revenue is based on a transfer from the general fund as well as grant revenue, neither of which happened at this point. The grant revenue is what we would expect had the STP project started to go forward, but as we know, that project has been delayed. We had budgeted for $2 million to be transferred to the capital fund from the general fund, and we will discuss the necessary journal entry to process that activity with our auditor as we work through year-end processes. Expenditures are at 12% of the annual budgeted amount for the capital fund. It should be noted that we budgeted a high expenditure scenario for our capital fund, so all projects did not ultimately happen during the year. Most of the budgeted expense for 2025 capital budget were related to the Saunders Road STP project, which, as we know, has not yet started and has been delayed until at least 2026. In the cash report, the overall cash was fairly consistent with the balance we started the quarter with. However, the overall cash balance is up about $1.1 million from where we started 2025. The TIF number 2 fund continues to post decreases in its cash standing due to the expenses related to Federal Life building, which are located in the TIF. The fire district did submit payment in the fourth quarter to reimburse the village for their part of the demolition work that was done this past year. So we will work during our pre-audit work to post the correct journal entry to reimburse appropriately the TIF fund, which should help the cash position that we end up reporting for the year end with the audit. And that is the end of my report for tonight.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next order of business is the treasurer's report. He's not with us this evening. Director of Community Services report. Director Witt, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Our favorite topic, Saunders Road. Unfortunately, we have no update on the STP project. But that said, we are working with ComEd over the last couple of weeks to get them to restore the property within the right of way along Saunders Road. A lot of damage was done through their work in extending the electric lines across the street and relocating the utility poles as part of the STP project. To give us a little bit of backwash on the fact that the road's going to be ripped up over time. And at this point, since we don't know when that's going to be, I want to get the roadway looking a little bit better than it is right now. Orphans of the Storm has reached out to us to try to define what our process is in coming in for permits. So I anticipate that they'll be coming in shortly to meet with us to go over more of those requirements, although we've given all the list of requirements, permit forms, and handouts that we can to them at this point. We're working on a very deep dive into the fee schedule. The fee schedule hasn't really been overhauled in the time that I've been here. So we're looking at going back into our current ordinances and verifying what the fees are that have been established, taking a look at how long those fees have been in place, whether or not they need to be upgraded, downgraded to reflect the cost of providing services to our residents and business customers. Expect to get that in front of the board within the next couple of weeks. And the last thing I have is a minor deal, but our generators are back operational again after the second round of mice eating through all the wires. So we have increased our pest control measures and we'll be looking at modifying the generators with some more rodent proofing screening. But that's all I've got. We will be doing a full load test on the generators, including the transfer switches, this Thursday morning. It shouldn't affect anybody, we hope.
Are there any questions for our director? Oops, sorry. Trustee Clayton, please.
Port Wine sidewalk.
I'll know better Thursday after 10 o'clock. We have a meeting with Trustee Graff and Teska Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. We'll go through and see where they are with that project and then hopefully have something to report at the next meeting. I have no clue as to whether or not they will have any kind of visuals that we can share, but once we have something, we will forward that off. Sure.
Anyone else? I have a mouse in my dishwasher. In. I couldn't run it. I just looked at him and I went, oh, come on, man. And
You should get a cat.
yeah, I couldn't do
We
it.
should get a cat.
So, yeah, I've never had that happen. Anyway, but I digress. Next on the agenda is our attorney's report. He couldn't be with us in person this evening. He is live streaming the meeting. And do you have any comments? Nothing to report. Bruce, whether he no, he did say that. He did say that. He did say he didn't have anything to report. Yeah. You complaining? Okay. Police report, Chief, please.
Yes, the police activity since the first of the year is in the board packet. Of note, we did have one theft from our mobile station on January 23rd. We responded there on a report that a person posing as a buyer loaded 3 scrapped catalytic converters onto a truck and then fled the scene without providing payment. We are actively investigating that. That's all I have.
Are there any questions for our chief? Again, thank you very much, and thank you to all our officers. Appreciate their work. Plan Commission report, Chair Brightcoff. No report. Zoning Board of Appeals did not meet. Is there any plan for the Zoning Board of Appeals?
We have one item that needs to get to some special meeting. We have a sign at Colonial Court that needs a review.
Okay. Moving on, Fire District, our Chief Kruger isn't with us this evening. Information items and comments from the president. At our last meeting, there were a number of suggestions for the Committee of the Whole. One of them was water, and that happens to be kind of near and dear to my heart. And one of the things I wanted to let you know is that there, couple of things. Coming to work this morning, I followed some fire trucks. Everybody needed to pull off the road. There was one, the fire chief's vehicle, lights blazing, an ambulance, a fire truck, 2 pumper trucks, and another ambulance, all going east on Deerfield Road. They made the turn at Portline, and my stomach just sunk. And there was a call on Deepwood, and fortunately, it was just smoke and nothing more. But it underscored to me exactly what kind of equipment would be needed to fight a fire in that area. There are no hydrants. On the same day, I got a notice from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, Office of Water Resources. The purpose of an upcoming meeting is to consider a petition by Aqua Illinois for a Lake Michigan water allocation. Aqua Illinois, quick look at the internet, and we all know the internet is absolutely true, but a quick look at the internet, Aqua Illinois represents a number of counties. They have 48 water wells. They represent counties or have businesses in Kankakee County, Champaign County. There were DuPage, Cook, and so on and so forth, a number of counties in the area. That concerns me because we have not been using our allocation. So it is of concern and it is of note that those 2 things happened on the same day. And I know the board, there are several members of the board that wanted to bring that item forward for discussion in the future. So I simply wanted to emphasize that and the concern about water in our village. So with that, visitors wishing to address the board, items not on the agenda. Number 1 on the hit parade is Dr. Mark Clifton, who is the Executive Director of the North Shore Mosquito Abatement District. And anyone who was at any of the meetings last year would have heard about the South Lake Mosquito Abatement District and the efforts that went into trying to not make it go away. And as it turns out, we have consolidated and we are now members of the North Shore Mosquito Abatement District. So I Yahoo. And so I thought it was important that the board hear from Dr. Clifton. So if you could, yep, please, for the microphone.
No, it's okay. This is. So thank you. Should I say?
Yeah, you need.
Oh, yeah.
We had a hearing loop and
Oh,
it's
okay.
going out on TV as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, do the green. Yeah, you're good. Even though you think you project, whatever.
Fair enough.
Thanks, Mark.
Fair enough. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited that this has happened. We're going to do a good job and I think you'll be real happy. So I wanted to try, there's so much to talk about with mosquitoes, more than you could ever imagine, believe it or not. This is all I do for the last 20 years is mosquito related and vector-borne disease stuff. But I'm going to try and hit a few important points about this consolidation and what it'll mean for Riverwood specifically. This is a really unique area, I think, in the whole North Shore region. And so there's some, unique considerations for mosquitoes that I think, I wanted to address for this group. So I'm just going to go to the first page and that's this one here where I have our operational maps. I think you all should have a copy of this, right, in your agenda. Okay. Yeah, sorry. The presentation, the projector wasn't working, so
Great.
we're on paper. Hey, I'm flexible. It's all right.
I always bring paper. So
I can do this. So you can see we've already started creating operational zones out of this former South Lake Mosquito Abatement District. Fortunately, the state law does account for districts that are in 2 counties. This is the only district in Illinois that is in 2 counties. So it's groundbreaking. The law was made in 1927 and no one's availed themselves of all the provisions in 100 years. So the North Shore Mosquito Abatement District is going to increase in size from about 70 square miles to 95. We'll now serve 400,000. We used to serve about 330,000 residents. The law allows for how board seats are to be allocated. And so since the Lake County portion has about 60,000 residents, that's about 15% of the total. That's close to 1 seat. So Kim Stone, who was the former Highland Park, I guess, is a city council member, will be serving on the North Shore Mosquito Abatement District Board. She's a representative from Lake County. She was in Highland Park. The other 4 come from Cook County. And then property taxes are also designated how they're allocated. And so the total, equalized assessed value of both sections in both counties, is the Lake County and the Cook County proportions are determined. So Lake County will be responsible for about 19% of the property tax, which I'll show you later is actually a reduction, I think, from where you are now across South Lake by about 20%.
$24.
So there's-
It's going to go.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where a consolidation actually saves money and, it's not much, but it's something, right? Every little bit helps. So this is the page I'm on now. I'm moving forward. Okay. So currently, the South Lake Mosquito Abatement District is in year 2 of a 3-year contract with Clark Environmental Services. They're a major contractor. I'm sure you're familiar with them if you live here, right? So when this consolidation action happens, we end up inheriting everything from the former district, including long-standing agreements or whatever, contractual agreements. So if you're not familiar with Clark, they do the GIS mapping and public relations and program reports and mosquito and disease surveillance, also a bunch of different treatment aspects they have. They'll treat 7,000 catch basins and nearly 1,000 different floodwater sites. And then they'll also do adult mosquito control for $74 a mile. We have 2 years remaining of this contract, about $362,000 a year. So over the next 2 years, that'll be about $700,000 that the district will pay to finish this contract. What I wanted to highlight for the residents in Riverwood is that we do all of these things and our staff do them. We don't hire a contractor. We have full-time staff that do this all the time. We're always there, always doing this work. So there's no more contractors. So just briefly, some of the program elements, and I just wanted to show these. I'm not going to go through every one. I'm just going to highlight a couple important ones. And this doesn't even cover everything that we do, but I wanted to show that we also have all the same elements that you were getting before, all the mosquito trapping, all the pathogen testing. We also do tick trapping and tick pathogen testing. That's part of our program. It's not just mosquitoes, it's all vectors. It's even rats, and like Evanston, believe it or not. So, yeah, that's a tough one. We're still learning about that. We do things like source reduction. So waste tires, we remove for free. This is all no cost. This is part of your property taxes. Larval control is the biggest part of our program. Like 90% of everything we do is just controlling larvae. We don't want flying adults around. We can do adult mosquito control. We haven't had to do it in our district for 6 or 7 years. And our goal is to not have to do it here either. Believe it or not. We will, but we hope to not have to. And I'll show you how I plan on doing that. We have a full-time communications person, so if you want someone to come out and have an educational booth or something, we have someone that can do that, and we have a whole thing that we do for years throughout Cook County. We're going to bring it here. Our website has a bunch of different resident communications. We do weekly stakeholder communications, so you'll probably all be signed up for weekly alerts during the season that will tell you about disease risk I mean, that's not monthly, it's weekly. So we're communicating all the time with our municipalities. Our information is in near real time. So the risks that we're seeing, we get that out for everyone right away. The goal is that people are empowered to take protective measures on their own. We're not just waiting for a spray. They can say, maybe I should use DEET, or maybe now's not the best time to be out at dusk, or maybe I should dress better, so that people have the information they need to make the decisions to protect themselves. We also have a research entomologist who does like resistance testing all the time, making sure everything we have is actually working. We evaluate products, and then we do just basic mosquito biology and tick biology research to try and be better at this job. So the reason I said, and this is the next one here, the reason I said that 90% of our work is larval control is because larvae are in the water and they don't go far. They're all there, they're all together, millions of them. I'm sure if you've ever seen floodwater, they're just filled with larvae. Once they're flying, they can go for miles, and it's really much more difficult to control them when they're flying around. They can go 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 miles if the wind is right. So our strategy really depends on mapping places where our larvae repeatedly occur, and they usually pick the same locations, and then getting there in a timely way and treating them. And that just requires good maps. And you'll see we've already started on the next page here. We've already started, our GIS manager has begun making maps of all the known places that need to be inspected that produce larvae in riverwoods. And you can see the green is the Forest Preserve Ryerson. We have, a bunch of active and inactive sites for whatever reason. Clark has some of them as inactive. So those are, this is the beginnings of maps. We're going to probably add a lot more to these as time goes on. On the next page, you can already see there's a purple layer that I've added. And that's wetlands from the Lake County Wetland Inventory. So those are locations we'll want to look at and see if they're producing mosquitoes. So there's definitely a lot more in Riverwoods to look at that isn't currently on the maps. And so we'd like to get those locations into our maps and check them, and then reduce the mosquitoes in a very targeted and specific, environmentally sound way. So the next page shows kind of a screenshot of our real-time treatment information app. All the information that's collected flows back to our website and then is reflected back out to the public. All of your residents can see what we're doing in real time. They can enter their address and it'll show them within half a mile or whatever radius they want, everything that we've done. They can click on any of these features in this map and they can see the treatment history, what we use there, how many times we've been there. All this is available for the public. They can see it anytime. So our staff are out with tablets collecting this information and it's flowing through. The reason I bring that up is it's important because it explains how both us and Clark are going to work together for the next 2 years. You're going to have the best mosquito control for 2 years. I mean, it's like almost a competition now, right? So you're going to have, it's going to be great. So they're going to work off our maps. We already have their data. We're going to put it on our tablets. Their staff are going to have our tablets. All the data is going to flow through our system. And so everything you see will be done by Clark or by us, but you'll see the same thing. It won't matter to you, right? They'll just be staff for us, basically, like kind of subcontractors for us. So that's how we intend to handle the larval control piece. And so moving to how are we going to trap and test mosquitoes? So we are going to maintain the same network of traps throughout Riverwoods and South Lake. Those are going to be brought into our lab where we test them. We have all the equipment to test mosquitoes, and that data again is reported back out to Lake and Cook County. We already met with Lake County Department of Public Health, all of the local municipal stakeholders. So I wanted to show you on this page, this is our West Nile surveillance dashboard, just a screenshot We're having this designed for Lake County municipalities. So on the left, we have all the Cook County villages and people can select those. We'll have all the villages here in Lake County too. And this shows you in near real time what the abundance of vector mosquitoes is, what the infection rate with West Nile is, and that indicates like what's the risk that humans are going to get sick. So as the risk goes up, the chance goes up, and it's a bigger issue, probably in like the southern part of like Evanston, towards the city. But this area definitely still has West Nile. It's still something that happens. So this will be available for the public too. And again, all the data is going to flow through our laboratory. So that's how we're going to work with Clark. They're going to drop all the mosquito catches off with us, and then we're going to process and test them. And so it should be seamless for everyone. They shouldn't see anything. If there's anything with Clark, that you come to us, because now we're the manager of that contract. And so everything should come to our website, and we'll figure out how we can disseminate that to your residents. No more the Clark hotline or anything. We'll send Clark if we need them to go do something. Okay, I'm almost done. Okay, so I know that adult mosquito control with like so-called spraying is probably something people are interested in hearing about. We have 8 sprayers. We can do spraying. That's not a problem. We're all licensed to do it. We're experts at it. I think if we have good maps and we can control larvae, we find we don't need to do spraying. So that's the goal here, is to try and map this thoroughly. And you should see the maps we have in Cook County. I mean, we treat 100,000 catch basins a year. We have thousands and thousands, everything down to little puddles. I mean, really, really detailed maps. So this is all we do. We also use a technology called wide area larviciding. And so that involves BTI, which is a mosquito-specific bacteria. We make like a slurry of water and bacteria, and then that can be atomized and kind of put into the wind, and then that will land on flooded areas. So that's really perfect for a place like Riverwoods, where there can be a lot of woodland pools sitting there. So with BTI and timely inspection, and then this wide area larviciding, we've done really terrific in Cook County when we introduced this, and I think we'll do the same here. We have 3 pieces of equipment, kind of small, medium, and large, because I recognize the streets here are narrow. This giant truck is going to have trouble on some of these narrow roads. So we're purchasing another piece of equipment with the money that South Lake brought to the district to be able to do this wide area larval control. So that's going to be the mainstay. So you'll see like a truck kind of spraying, but it's a bacterial spray. It's non-toxic to pets, people. It's specific for mosquitoes. So, it's important, I think, for residents to understand that that's different than your kind of truck-based spraying, which is a broad spectrum pesticide that, can affect lots of insects. BTI is specific for mosquitoes. Okay, so if necessary to do adult mosquito control, we're going to have Clark manage it, because this is part of their contract. And then we want to make sure we get the full $362,000 out of that contract for the next 2 years. And then after that, we'll do it if we need to. Lastly, I just wanted to run through, these are draft budget numbers. We're redoing our budget because we just consolidated, but I expect if you look at the kind of peach colors in Cook County, we'll probably be able to lower our levy by 125,000, and I think probably nearly 100,000 here in Lake County. So that'll be about a 20% reduction in that line item on your property taxes. So a few dollars you can buy some deep woods off with. one can, exactly. Well, it's important for us to show that where we can reduce, even if it's not much in real dollars. It's a percentage and it's something. So I'm excited. This whole situation made a lot of sense in terms of saving both Lake and Cook County money. So I think the last piece of this is that we're gonna. Our budget now is kind of big because we are collecting the levy from Lake and from Cook, and we're going to whittle that down over the next 2 years as we cycle off that contract. And just to show you our kind of line item budget. We have a more detailed budget, but this is kind of the rougher one. That Clark contract's going to occupy, a big part of our expenditures for the next 2 years. And the goal is to kind of run at a loss until we draw down some of the reserves, because South Lake came with 1.3 million, and that's just too much reserve. So we're going to kind of lower levies, run a deficit, and then run those reserves down to about 1 year. We like to keep about 1 year of reserves. We have a domestic inspection and service request program. So any of your residents can call us and say, I have mosquitoes. Can you come take a look? And we'll just go look in the neighborhood. We'll look around their house. We find stuff all the time, and people usually make their own problem. So that's no cost. We'll come and do that all day long. We conduct thousands of those. I mentioned the tire collection, and then we also have tick surveillance. Residents can submit ticks by a picture. They can actually submit the real tick, and we'll tell them what it is. That's part of our surveillance to know what ticks are out there. There's a few that are making their way into this part of the state that are invasive, so we're watching for those.
That's a new service too. Clark. did not-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So note that.
There's no way to control ticks, unfortunately. Sorry to tell you. So, what's that? Yeah. Yeah. Once it warms up, they'll start crawling around. But there's no real good way to control ticks. We've researched it. We continue to research it, but there's just not. So outreach and education and knowing what's out there is as far as we can go on ticks. We have a bunch of different apps for your residents on our outreach and communications, and we have a communications manager that can attend any of your events. Okay, finally. And then I just wanted to introduce our staff and trustees. So like I said, we have 8 full-time staff, and then our 5 trustees. There's Kim Stone from Highland Park, and then our 4 Cook County trustees. So yeah, that's us. So if you need anything, feel free to call me or send me an email. I'm happy to answer questions.
I have a question.
Questions? Trustee Eastman, please.
I was just going to add that it's really interesting to see how much more like technologically advanced you are with the dashboards and that sort of technology that I think is going to be a real benefit to residents relative to South Lake. So I think that's going to be, half of that is making sure that, particularly with West Nile, that the older population knows when that risk level is starting, and then they can make their own decisions, right?
Yes.
So I think that's great. And it'll be interesting to play around with that and see how that works during the next season.
There's more data than you could dream of in some of that.
Yeah.
More. It's so much.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Jamerson, please.
So I have 2 questions. One's a softball
Okay.
and one's a hardball.
Okay.
The softball is, I'm a beekeeper. I just want to make sure I know that whatever you're going to be spraying is not going to be affecting my bees. That was a softball question.
Okay.
Here's a hardball question.
Mhm.
I live on the Forest Preserve boundary,
Mhm.
and there are huge places right out here that have water all year long. And the Forest Preserve has constantly told us that they will not do anything about mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about how you can convince them to do something about those mosquitoes that are about 400 feet from my house and her house? And
I do understand. Yeah, I understand completely. Is it Ryerson Conservation or is it?
It's the Forest Preserve District.
But it's not part of Ryerson?
It's Cahokia Woods, so.
Oh, Cahokia.
Yeah,
Okay.
And Ryerson does, but my house.
yeah.
Yeah, in Cook County, that Forest Preserve District begrudgingly allows us to do that because I've explained emphatically that we have thousands of residents and then this forest preserve embedded. And if we're not dealing with the floodwater, because we have the north branch of the Chicago River, I'm just going to send the complaints to them and then they can answer why so maybe we can work with Lake County Forest Preserve District. I don't know how far we
I don't
can
know how
get.
successful you'll be, but it'd be appreciated by the people that live over here and the people that live over there that are bordering the woods.
I mean, technically by state law, I mean, we can do it. We can abate all water as nuisances, and there's not much that they could do, but that's not how we
Well,
like
you
to
don't
do
want to, you don't want to get into a
it. No, we don't.
contest,
No.
for lack of a better word.
No.
I will
we
leave the
wouldn't-
word out. Contest with them. So, but anyways, it's just, we've brought this up to the South Lake Mosquito District many times, and they've always said that, the Forest Reserve is not reluctant, will not let it happen. So anyways,
there's some strategies that we can employ. There's some guidance from the federal government for federal wildlife refuges that does allow larviciding. So at the federal level, Fish and Wildlife will allow some limited larviciding, and we could mimic that approach and get the job done. And if it's good enough for the feds and wildlife refuges, it should be good here. So there are some approaches that we can try.
well, it would be great if you could look into that, just because, if they fly 4 or 5 miles, they're also going to be at their house.
Yeah.
It's going to be at her house. So,
Oh, I know exactly what you have.
okay, thank you.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes, I just had two basic questions. You answered Trustee Jemison's question about bees, but what about other pollinators, butterflies, moths, whatever what's the environmental impact? And then the second part of my question is BIT new for Riverwoods, or is that what Clark was doing last year? So what's the expected change?
Yeah,
any.
so the first part is the pollinators. Part of the larvicide approach is that it's more labor intensive. It requires really detailed maps, but we're able to use products that have a way better profile with non-targets like pollinators. So BTI has zero effect on bees or butterflies or anything. It requires the specific pH of a mosquito's midgut to even become active. So there might be some midges if you had enough that it would affect, but that's about the only non-target, and that's under like certain circumstances. So the pollinator thing, provided we're doing larviciding, that's why we do it in Cook County for the same reason. You also have rusty patch bumblebee, which is a major concern. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we went this direction. The other part of your question, can you remind me again what part 2 is?
No, because you answered part 1 so well. Actually, now I don't remember, but the second part of my question I didn't ask
Okay.
was, the question was, what's the difference between BTI or BIT
Right.
and what Clark or whoever, or South Lake was doing before? And what's the impact?
Yeah, I mean, there's only a handful of larvicides that are available. Clark, they make, they also make materials, and they have a service side of their business, right? So there's an incentive, I think, to use
Their own
what they're
stuff.
making, right? So we're not bound by that. We'll just use whatever we know is going to work and meets all of our criteria. So it's not new. but new
Okay, so
here.
it's not new for Riverwoods, this BIT thing.
I don't know that they were
BTI.
using much here. They weren't using the ability to disperse it, that wide area larval control. They weren't doing that.
And then the last part of my question, which I have not yet asked, but I will ask now, is
Okay.
I feel like a few years ago, Clark had moved away from the gas-generated aerators on the trucks. They went to, I don't know, battery-powered or something that was more environmentally friendly. I was wondering what's your approach, and because a big part of Riverwoods is not only environment, but sustainability of the environment that we have and sustainability of what we have. I just want to make sure we're not losing any ground on putting more fossil fuel exhaust into the air and things like that.
Yeah, they have an electric sprayer that they design and they use. We have 2 of those. We could buy more. We have 6 gasoline ones, but again, we don't really use any of them very often. The wide area larval control are all gasoline powered. Unfortunately, there are no electric versions of that. So, but that's, so there's a little of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions for our guest? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm delighted
Thank you for
that we're
having
a
me.
part of the district. Thank you. And so are you, and so are you. Next order of business, new business. Approval of a proposal for purchase of replacement grinder pumps in an amount not to exceed $22,000. Director Witt, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you know, HT Stringer does the repair work for the grinder pumps within the village. Where they can, where there is damage to the pumps, they will take one out, bring it back to their shop, try to repair it, and reinstall them as they see fit to make sure that they still function to the specifications that the village has set forth. However, from time to time, the ability to repair those pumps does not always prove fruitful, and some of the pumps just have to be retired. So really what we have in front of us tonight is just a need to replenish their stock of new pumps as they continue to do the services. So for the cost of 5 new grinder pumps to put on the shelf for them to eventually put into service, we're looking for an approval for the amount of $21,708 to HT Stringer.
Is there a motion for approval, please? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Trustee Jamerson,
I have a
please.
question.
Mhm.
The way I read this proposal, Stringer is billing it to us through Gewalt, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that necessarily. But I'm wondering if there's a reason why the village can't purchase them directly from E1 and maybe save Stringer's markup, because I'm sure they're marking these up.
We can certainly look into that.
We look into that? I mean, I don't know that it's going to be worth our trouble.
I don't know that. I know about a year ago when we first started looking at Stringer, the numbers that E1 was quoting us was right around what they're at here. They were about $3,800 and $3,900. You can see that some of these pumps are still in that range. Some of the others are just, I think, a little different capacity or size of the pump motor. So they're still in the same range they were about a year ago. We were averaging 3,900, and I think these, between the 5 of them, average about 4,300. But we'll certainly take a look at that and see if we can't do that. The only issue that we have then is finding out where we're actually going to store them and whether or not Stringer is going to charge us for keeping them in stock inside their shop. So this way, it's just a one-stop deal. They purchase them and they use them. It may or may not be worth it, but we can ask to see what that price is.
It may
The
not
other
be
thing that we've looked at, we asked once before, didn't get a definitive answer, is, is it worth our while? Is there a threshold at which we buy 20 pumps and we get a discounted amount and then have Stringer store them? So we'll take a look at that and report back to the board.
Capital Asset Management.
Just curious, but thank you. It may not be worth the trouble.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff. Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business is approval of a contract with Axon to provide required body cameras and dashboard cameras for police department in an amount not to exceed $422,821.80 over 10 years. Chief, will you please lead us through?
Yes. So a little more background than I gave you in the memo that
I still have trouble hearing you. I'm sorry.
A little more background than I gave you in the memo is that I initially reached out to Axon because I was interested in purchasing their AI redaction tool because we've been receiving so many FOIAs from our body cameras and our dashboard cameras from traffic stops. And it's a lot of work, and their AI tool, the demo that I saw on it, would make life a lot easier for my records people. And they quoted me around $2,400 a year for the tool, which would be my third contract with Axon, because we currently have a contract for body worn cameras and a contract for dash cams. And the representative asked me if I was interested in consolidating the contracts, and I said, yeah, that certainly would be easier. And then he gave me some options, but one option he gave me was a 10-year contract. And we talked about that. And now both of the current agreements for the Axon body cameras and the Axon dash cameras are total $34,574 a year that we'd be, if we kept the current contract, we'd be continuing to pay that through 2028, at which time that contract would end and we'd have to enter into a different contract or go to a different product. And I wrote in the memo that this includes, that 34,000 would include an AI redaction tool that we plan to buy, but that shouldn't be in there. That was a misunderstanding I had with the rep. So currently, if we stayed with this current contract, we'd be paying $34,570 a year through 2028. Now, these agreements cover equipment warranties, support, and refreshing the body-worn cameras with the latest models. The next refresh would be in 2026. This year, we're due to get brand new body-worn cameras with the latest technology. Now, Axon is proposing that we enter into a new 10-year consolidated agreement with locked-in 2026 pricing for the 18 body-worn cameras we have, plus a 19th that I was also asking to get a quote on to purchase. So this would include the 19th camera, and it would also include the 5 in-car dashboard cameras, along with a free AI redaction tool, which, as I said, is valued at $24,000 over the 10 years, or $2,400 a year for 10 years. Now, the first year cost would be, I'm not sure why the rep lowered our first year cost, but it would, from what we're paying now, but it would be $32,174. He was trying to make it budget friendly for me since I'd already budgeted for 2026. And then it would be $43,405 annually over the following 9 years, for a total 10-year cost of $422,821.80. Now, the 10-year agreement also includes the equipment warranty support and also data cloud storage, as well as the new latest generation body-worn camera replacements in 2026, 2028, 2023, and 2036. And dash cameras, also known as fleet cameras, is what's mentioned in their contract, would be replaced with the latest generation of dash cams in 2031 and 2036. So by finishing the current agreement and adding in a 19th camera, body-worn camera, the estimated cost over the next 10 years, based on their expected increases after we expire in 2028, would be the total cost for over the next 10 years from now would be $504,000 and $504,169. So canceling our current 5-year agreement and entering into a proposed 10-year agreement for $422,822 would result in a savings of $81,347 over 10 years, based on their estimated future price increases. The village would save an additional $24,000 over 10 years with the inclusion of the AI redaction assistant at no cost. So we'd actually be saving over $100,000. So we'd be saving a little over $10,000 a year over the next 10 years. Now, I had a concern because I didn't want to lock in that long with them in case something better came out from somebody else. Right now, they are, the industry standard. If you watch any YouTube videos of anything involving police, body-worn cameras, or dash cameras, it's almost certainly going to be an Axon camera, because that's what almost everybody uses. And there's a reason for that, because they have a very good product, they have very good support. And we had a camera go down recently, and they couldn't fix it by remoting into it. So they overnighted us a camera, and we had a camera. So at the moment, they have very good support and very good equipment. And so my concern was I didn't really want to go into longer than a 5-year deal in case something better came out. But I asked them if they would give us an out for any reason after 5 years. And they agreed to that. So when the contract expires, if we sign it 5 years from now, for 10-year contract, 5 years from now, we can say we want out with some notice. And if we wanted to go to a different product. So, so my recommendation would be that we do enter into the agreement for the 10-year contract with one caveat that Attorney Huvard has been reviewing their contract. It's very technical, and he did put in the language for us for the 5-year out. But there's some other things that he wants to review. So on the condition that he doesn't find anything else that they don't agree to that he thinks we should have, I'm looking for approval of that with Attorney Huvard's after he with his looking at the contract and recommending that we move forward.
Trustee Clayton, please.
At least the last numbers that I looked at indicated that if we were to terminate the contract in the 5th year, we would still save money compared to what we're paying today. So this to me is a no-brainer, especially with the technology protections that we have.
Trustee Smith.
I just had two very basic questions, and these questions come from ignorance more than anything else. The first question, Chief Dano, is it seems like the timing of the camera updates just strikes me as odd. Like it's 2 years, then it's 5 years, then it's 2 or 3. And I just don't know, is that logical? And I'm not saying it's not, I'm just asking.
No,
Or is that market appropriate is probably the better way to say that.
I'm not, when it comes to technology, I don't really understand all of this, but I do know that cameras are expensive and they're giving us new cameras throughout the contract.
So
So,
it's all good
yeah, so we're going to be getting the latest, greatest equipment as it comes out.
as it comes out. So not necessarily on those cycles.
I'm just making a guess here that they just have a timeline and when they expect their new equipment to come.
Oh, got it. Okay.
That's just a guess. I didn't ask the representative. We'll ask him that now that you.
It just kind of struck me. The other question I had was I noticed in the contract, it also talks about tasers that are discharged in service. So not practice, I guess.
What I should have told you was that that's their standard contract. And that was the question that Attorney Huvard had. And a lot of that doesn't apply to us.
Oh.
So they've since sent us a memo explaining what would apply to us and what doesn't. I could tell by reading it what applied, and I knew right away tasers don't apply because we're not in a contract with them for tasers at the moment. But there were some other things that I wasn't even sure of because it was so technical. So they're providing a better explanation of what some of it is and what will apply to us, and that's what Bruce Huvard's going to review.
Right. And then any adjustments to the contracted price because of lack of tasers or whatever.
Yeah, no, the tasers, if you look at the second document that I gave you for the quote, that's what we're getting the support on.
Oh, got it.
So it's only,
Oh, it's just in the contract.
yeah, you have to put the contract together with the proposal for the body worn cameras and the,
Okay,
and the dash cameras.
great. Thank you.
Is there a motion for approval, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with Axon to provide body worn camera or body cameras and dash cameras for the police department upon approval of the village attorney.
Is there any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Jamerson,
Aye.
trustee Raff,
Aye.
trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino. Aye. Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
And trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. No old business. Next item of business is committee reports. Finance Committee. Trustee Clayton, please.
No report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our trustee? Legal and legislation. Trustee Eastman, please.
No report.
Are there any questions for our trustee? Okay, building and infrastructure. Trustee Jamerson, please.
The building reports in the packet, it was a very slow month for permits, not necessarily in the building department, but the permits were only a few. So there's really nothing to report there. I would like to just tag on, since the utilities fall underneath. I told the mayor this earlier tonight, but going through the records for our association, our homeowners association, came across some very old paperwork. And one of the things had to do with the fact that at one point in time, the water allocation for Riverwoods was denied. We had no water allocation. So what the mayor talked about earlier with allocation and concerns is a real issue. So just passing that on.
Are there any questions for our trustee? Okay, land use. Trustee Raft, please.
Yes, as Director Witt previously mentioned, we'll be meeting with Tesca later this week to see their current status in terms of port wine. And as also is discussed in the committee of the whole, we've received an interesting proposal for Walter Clores.
Any questions for our trustee? Thank you. Sustainability and community services. Trustee Smith, please.
Yeah, so since our last meeting, we've been working with the village on getting our sustainability plan kind of kicked off. Hoping to do that. I don't know, Chris, if you saw my email at not 3:29, but close to it, about perhaps even Monday.
As I said in my first email, I'll know my schedule better
I
later
know,
this week.
I'm just letting you know that I sent you an email asking for February 9th.
Thank you. Is there any questions for our trustee? Okay, moving on. Communications. Trustee Trevino, please.
Yes, we are currently recruiting for the focus groups and working to get those scheduled. And one of the things that we're doing is trying to ensure that we get residents from all of the 7 different neighborhoods.
Are there any questions for our trustee? Okay, moving on. Last item of business is board comments. The floor is your, really?
I know it's hard to believe I have no comments tonight.
Okay, moving on, seeing no reason to go into executive session, we will establish our next Board of Trustees meeting is February 17th. There might have been an error on the agenda at one point. There is no committee of the meeting of the whole on the 17th, just a board meeting. So may I have with that, can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.